You're listening to Supervision with a Vision, where we discuss all things supervision. I'm your host, Sarah, professional counselor, marriage and family therapist, play therapist, eating disorder specialist, and cookie lover, with my co-host, Heather, marriage and family therapist, certified Together in Texas counselor, a Texas transplant from California, and outdoor adventurer. Hi, welcome to Supervision with a Vision. Today, Heather and I are talking about getting old. This week we read The Search for Meaning After Age 50, published in Psychology Today 2024. Heather, this article is talking about getting old. And so you and I are thinking about this article in relation to being a supervisor and being an old counselor.
Old counselor for too long.
So the first point in the article is that ageism is in the eye of the beholder.
Okay. So, I guess first, ageism, we should probably give a little bit of a meaning that people are judged based off their age.
Mm-hmm. Or perceived
age, right. Some people could look younger or older than they are.
Sure. I think as we're doing this and talking about this, I'm thinking, we're on, it's a podcast, so
right.
our audience can't see us.
Right.
That our audience has automatically made some assumptions based on what we talk about.
I never thought about that before.
About our age, but they don't know our age. Recently, someone asked me how old I was. And just right out of my mouth, I said a number that was about 7 years younger.
Just like blip. That was the last time I thought about my birthday.
Right. And then as soon as it was out of my mouth, I thought, how do I go back and correct that?
How do I fix this now?
It was weird. And then I just didn't. And then I was like, well, that's out there.
A client recently at the very first intake, kind of get to know you kind of thing. I always ask them well, do you have questions about therapy or me or whatever? They were like, how long have you been licensed? And I was like, okay.
I think that's a great way to ask that question.
Right.
To ask basically, how old are you?
Right.
Kid clients ask me all the time.
Well, sure.
And they're always way off.
Yeah.
In all different directions.
Oh, I would have.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They both think I'm a whole lot older and sometimes also think I'm a whole lot younger.
Okay. Or
they'll ask a question, maybe kind of like your client, where it's indirectly asking how old I am, but they ask a question like, well, you're going to retire soon, right? Like,
no.
Sure. I don't know. What's soon, right? That's right. Isn't that our point?
Right.
That ageism is in the eye of the beholder. It's all relative.
Right.
So if I wonder what our audience thinks about what their perception of.
Could you please call in and let us know?
Yeah. Yeah. What else do you think is kind of in the eye of the beholder or related to perspective? If we're talking about specifically counseling and age.
Right. I think, I can jump right on in easily for supervision, like supervisors, talking in different supervision sessions, more so at the beginning. But have you ever had a supervisee ask did you know? And then it's something they've immediately learned this last year. And you're like, I'm aware of that. But I hope we're aware of it.
Yeah.
But it's they're learning things in school we didn't learn.
Yeah. Or, that's so true. Thinking about updates to the DSM.
Oh, yes.
That I haven't done it in a while. I actually created a training related to the DSM and updates. And my goal was to teach brand new counselors that have learned the most recent version. They got the most recent version because they were in school recently. Teach them what it used to look like.
Yeah.
Because there's this whole generation of counselors that learned it a different way, and they're going to be talking about it differently. And the new counselors don't know that.
Right.
But also at the same time, educating counselors who have been in the field for a while. Here are the updates. So that both of those groups can know how to talk to each other.
The DSM is a perfect example. It's changed so much. And it will forever be one of those documents that change because of what the work is, right? We're always going to be reevaluating that. But even talking about things that age out or whatever, we've seen a shift in like even something as simple as coding, even not talking about
Yes.
diagnosis.
Or axes.
Right. Like
There's
we'll
no
do
more.
no
Yeah.
more axes.
Yeah.
But all those kind of things are like that mindset was such a huge shift that it just kind of like
Yeah.
happened. Like it was
Yeah.
like, okay, we now do it this way.
Right. Right. What about as you're talking about supervisees who are excited to learn this new thing, and you're
Right.
like, "Yep, I knew that."
Mm-hmm.
I have supervisees that kind of fangirl
Mm.
over counselors in the field, or
Oh,
like
and
somebody
like,
who's written
right.
something, or somebody who I'm specifically thinking about, like EMDR
Okay.
or Adlerian play
Mm-hmm.
therapy, a theory where the person who developed it is still alive.
Right. They're like, did you? Well, I'm
And
going to
they,
go to this conference and see this person.
right. And you're
Right.
like, oh, I really, Terry's a great
Right.
woman. She's
Mm-hmm.
so friendly. And they're
Right.
like,
You know
you know her. Yeah. So,
that.
and then kind of feeling old,
Yeah, you're like,
like,
oh,
I do
whoops.
know Terry. Um, what about you and I talked about this when we were talking about uh, this episode in this article. I even when I was in school, I would think, what kind of old lady
Oh, yes.
counselor will I
Mm-hmm.
be?
Mm-hmm.
And imagining in my head what that would be like. And when I read this article, I thought, what if I
Even if you
am?
are.
I am now that old lady counselor I was wondering about. Have you ever thought about, or did you, when
I
you were in school, think
yes.
what that would look like?
Yes. And then I had a few maybe professors in school, but then also maybe some mentors along the way that I thought,
Hmm.
oh, when you get to a certain point, you get to be a little more like
Yeah.
I don't know what I want to say about it. Like a little bit more like in touch with like softer things, or you can be a little bit more
Oh.
like
You totally imagined you were going to dress like Mrs. Roper.
yes, yes, uh-huh.
You're going to have like flowy
Yes, flowy things,
dresses.
and we're gonna. And I'm thinking of like different people that influenced me along the way. Like, how do you get in touch with the what would be considered like more like the Eastern side
Mm-hmm.
of mental
Mm-hmm.
health therapy? Like those kind
Mm-hmm.
of things. And how old do you have to be that that's okay? That
Oh,
like
when are you allowed to
when are you
be
allowed to do that? When are you allowed to be like so
kooky?
right?
You're waiting. What age do you
I
have to
just want to
hit
know when we
to
can do
be
that.
like a kooky off the wall counselor? I
Right.
think now, go for it.
We're now having
Yeah.
sessions in the forest.
Or
We're
maybe
gonna
sitting on pillows.
right. Get rid of my furniture.
Yeah. Come in, take your shoes off, sit on a pillow.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm thinking I had actually they're both professors that I had in different at different times. One that both I really admired, but one was pretty intimidating. I just
Mm-hmm.
felt like she was so impressive and smart and scary
Yeah.
for that reason.
Yeah.
I imagined her kind of as Professor McGonagall from Harry Potter.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I thought, what? I don't think I could ever be like that.
Right.
I mean,
Like
that
I
would be
just can't
so
do that. Yeah.
amazing that,
Mm-hmm.
but I had a different professor, um, that actually kind of reminds me of, what's the name of the Harry Potter character where she read the tea leaves?
Oh,
Professor Trelawney?
I was going to say it's
Trelawney, something
Traylon.
like that.
Yeah.
Kind of reminded me of that.
Right.
Um, that would be a cool
Mm-hmm.
way to be an old lady counselor.
Right.
But I think that we're talking about that idea as though it's a positive. Like we looked forward
We
to
looked
that.
forward to that time.
So not a negative, not
Right.
that we're going to get old and
Mm-hmm.
you and I did not just describe that those counselors were obsolete
Nope.
or boring
Nope.
or
Mm-mm.
so I think we're already looking at aging as counselors in a different way.
Right. I mean, maybe we have to since we have kids.
Yeah. As a supervisor though, do you have supervisees that you think have an opinion about your age as a supervisor?
It's a great question. It's our icebreaker for supervision this week. If any of you are
Mm-hmm.
listening,
Oh yeah, wouldn't that be a good discussion?
I don't know. I mean, I think so. I know particularly one counselor picked me as their supervisor because our lives, or I had lived her life, if that makes sense. Like,
Mm-hmm.
she's a mom, she has kids. Like, there was enough like that connected us almost on the other counseling stuff aside. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, yeah, she probably has some thoughts or ideas about that. Like,
Also a positive.
right.
She saw that as a
Maybe.
complete positive. I asked you that question thinking I've had some supervisees that were older than me. And it would be kind of cool to go back and ask them what they thought. I feel like it did play a role in our dynamic that I was younger than them. But I also think, I mean, maybe some of them, but not all of them, came to counseling as a second career. So whether it was comfortable, it was something they were used to.
Okay, yeah.
Because they probably went to school with all people who were younger than them, or maybe they were close to or the same age as some of their professors, maybe. So it was a dynamic that wasn't a surprise to them, but doesn't mean it didn't impact the way our supervision went.
That's interesting. Yeah. You made me stop and think like who on my current note right now, I think I have one supervisee that's very close to my age, but the rest are younger, but same type of thing. Second career. They're probably, but it's a good discussion topic.
Yeah. Okay, so the second point in the article is about internalized messages. You and I are saying ageism is in the eye of the beholder. We had maybe different perspectives or not necessarily a negative perspective of aging as a counselor, but what internalized messages do you think we have or supervisees or clients have about aging?
I think definitely supervisees probably have the expectation, which, I mean, this gets into other dynamics, not just age, but that we've done this for long enough and that we're old enough so we know the path, which sometimes we don't. But I think that is something that's kind of an assumption that,
So they'd be looking to us as an authority or an expert.
Even if we're not I think that's just almost a given.
Sometimes that could work in your favor and sometimes it could be a problem.
Yeah, could be at both sides.
Do you take the attitude that you're an expert because you've been doing this longer?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Nope.
I think it's harmful if I do ever catch myself thinking, I know everything.
No. I think that there are some things I'm really skilled at and I probably know a lot about. There are things that you are really great at, like that you can assess and see and know immediately. But I don't know that I would consider myself like the expert in any one given situation. I think, there are things I do better than other things.
I can't remember who I said it to in the last week, but when I have a supervisee that thinks they know everything or even might say, oh, we don't need to talk about that because I already read that or learned that.
Right. You're like, oh.
I definitely think red flag, that is dangerous. Right. The moment you think you know everything, even about one topic.
Right.
I think you're overlooking things or not open to learning something new.
Well, and I think a lot of what we talk about in supervision, I mean, at least I've talked about it probably pretty regularly, is that we don't know everything because you never know what each client's going to walk in with, and that this field is a forever learning field. But
right now I'm reading The Mindful Therapist, and actually you gave me that book.
I'm like,
and it talks a lot about that. It's very good. And I think the introduction even tells you to read it slowly.
Yes,
so I'm
like take your time. Yep.
Because it's really thoughtful, but it talks about that. The mindfulness allows you to be aware or open or receptive to new or different things.
Right.
Okay. Ironically, I thought this was funny when I read this article that the final point in the article is about coping as you age. So I think it sends kind of a confused message that the article is about aging is not bad and ageism doesn't have to be a bad thing. But the final point is sad, we're all aging and we should be coping to deal with that. But their point was that coping would help self-esteem, help you to be healthy, and help you to find joy and meaning in getting old and wrinkly. Maybe we can turn that around.
Yes. I mean, I think it's not, I don't know, right? It's about the expectation you set. It's about what you allow yourself to dive into. But I think if you're talking about coping with aging, you could either be celebrating you're turning your next whatever birthday and be like, I've made it around the world that many times and, have a positive attitude. It's mindset.
Yeah.
Or you could not. And you could very quickly sink into
or I don't know if I would call it coping, that you and I are thinking about becoming older counselors and we're embracing it and excited about it. And
it's still fun.
Looking forward to it. Do you see that as coping?
I mean, I don't know that that's necessarily coping, but
I think
definitely is a
it's a
choice.
different mindset.
Right. A different viewpoint, a different, yeah.
So if we're not coping because we're sad and old,
Right.
what would we be coping with, or why would we be focusing on coping?
Oh, here's one. The different spin maybe a little bit. Like, what about seeing the field change and like coping within that? Like, it's not what it
Oh,
used to be.
I
I
really
just thought
love
that.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're
And not even like that necessarily has to be a bad thing, but
right.
imagine that you are a counselor who learned the DSM in the 80s,
That's, yeah.
maybe not
I
the
mean, that's
80s
really,
anymore, but maybe the 90s.
I was like, are
Maybe,
they alive?
yeah, they're probably not practicing anymore. But if they learned about the DSM originally in the 90s and it's changed, you could be angry and you're just going to stick to
Right.
the
You
way it
know, you
was.
don't
And
want to change. You don't
right,
want,
you're
yeah,
not
you're
open
not
to,
flexible.
I think that would be hard.
That'd be horrible.
And not just the DSM, but
No,
other things. What
anything.
if you're just really good and pissed off that the
Care is what it,
healthcare is
yeah.
different?
Right.
And so it makes everything else miserable because you're just going to be
Right.
mad about healthcare.
Right. It could
I
go
think
down
that
a
could
bad
be.
path. Yeah.
Oh, I feel like this. I feel like at least for a week or two, I went through this that in the beginning of COVID, where
Oh,
everyone
yeah.
was virtual and no longer in person. I feel like I, kicked things around for a little bit and was mad that
Right.
I don't want to be virtual.
Right. It's hard to be virtual and then,
Well, I mean,
yeah.
how do you see kids? It just
Right.
felt
It
at
felt
the
too
time,
much.
right? It felt to me like it took so much out of what I was doing that I'm not going to do it. I'm going to be mad about it. And I,
Right.
had to
Right.
put up with that, deal with it,
Yeah.
change, adjust.
Yeah.
I now love my virtual counseling room that I use
Right.
sometimes.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
It's fun.
So,
Different tool you
right.
found because of it.
So maybe not coping with getting old, but coping with the fact that things change.
Right.
And you can either change too, or you could be
Cranky about it.
So thank you for listening today to Supervision with a Vision. Heather and I would love to hear about how you think about yourself as supervisor, as you rather than getting old, we could say maybe
Gosh, all the words.
get better with age,
Right.
or
I was gonna say mature, and I'm like, that sounds horrible.
yeah, maybe you could help us think of a different word to use. And as always, we would love to hear any recommendations for future episodes. Thanks today for listening to Supervision with a Vision.